Hello, this is the last Peripheral era devlog, or at least the last one that'll be going on this blog. I'm not really sure if I'll be continuing it on LinkedIn after, but we'll see. Um, this one is all about the intro cinematic level that I've made for the game, and like the purpose that that serves and how I've gone about making it. Um, as for pre-production with this intro level, moving out from the base idea I had of just like this kind of walkway where a light gets shown at you, um, I decided to go into dungeon scroll, which I've used before to kind of map out blockouts, and just made this little playboard here. It's just a tiny walkway. This little box in the bottom is where the player spawns, and up here is the C is the collectibles that we have. It's very, very simple. It's just supposed to lead the player up to that collectible because it's going to have this small cinematic sequence when they collect it, where the collectible will disappear and Raticus's kind of red light will shine at them, and it's kind of supposed to teach them that the yellow collectibles are what they're going for and that they can be collected, and then the red light is a bad thing, really. It's learned quite quickly in gameplay itself, but it's supposed to kind of add a lot more to that theming and just kind of reinforce that psychology in the player. Of like the fact that we baked it down into colors, um, the danger and like the good parts of the game. Um, the other upside with it really as well is that people who are less familiar with PC controls or controller or like controlling games in general will have a small little sandbox to walk around in just in this area before they go into the game. Because once they get into the game, there's like an immediate threat because Raticus will be roaming. And this is all based off of some feedback I got on the playtest and some advice I got from Chris and Matt, where I decided to take these kind of base ideas from the feedback I was given into an ideas stage, and this is what came out. Moving forward, I assembled the area in Pro Builder. Um, it's kind of blocked out here, even though this is the finished area with the outline effect on it. It's literally just, it's probably going to phase out because of the outline distance, but it's just a little block around this distance with a collectible at the end. It's very similar to how it was done in the dungeon scroll map. Um, the only issue I had at all was that all of the pre-existing mechanics have been made entirely in the game scene here. They've all been developed in here and they haven't been brought in from anywhere else. So all of the configuration that we have working um, kind of freaked out a little bit when I made a new scene. So the way I did it was I just duplicated the game scene, deleted everything in it, and kind of worked off of that as a base, getting rid of anything that I didn't need, and then putting what I was going to be working with into this scene. And that fixed any configuration issues I had at all. Um, the only way I could put the volumetric light in that I wanted, which is this, if I get it up, which is this kind of shining light, because I wanted the light beam itself to be visible, not just the light resulting on the ground. The only way to get that effect is through volumetric lighting, and I found out very quickly that that's only possible with the high definition render pipeline, which is not what we're in. We're in the universal render pipeline, or with expensive assets that I'm not going to be buying. This is the one specifically that I see a lot of people recommend. Um, if it's volumetric light, I don't know why that doesn't link. Um, yeah, this asset here by TechSolid. This it is absolutely amazing. I would love to use it. It's been used in some very popular games, but as you can see, it's quite a hefty price tag. So I decided to look at other tutorials, even though a lot of them led back to just using this. I managed to find this one, which was talking about kind of faking a volumetric light effect with a transparent material and making like custom mesh objects. But once I tried to go into making that, it didn't really work. The effect kind of freaked out, and some of the settings that he was using didn't appear to work on the universal render pipeline, so that didn't work either. The effect that I ended on was making this kind of God ray particle effect and adapting that. So I was kind of adapting my original vision for the scene, and working with what I could get based on the situation. But I'm still very happy with how it's turned out. I haven't compromised the vision at all. It's just changed. This tutorial goes in depth about how to make these particle effects, which is very good because I have never worked with Unity's particle system before, surprisingly enough. But it's all fairly intuitive. It's all in these little windows here, and it's all just knowing what to tweak. So that's what the tutorial helped me a lot with. I generally got to a good effect that I was happy with, like something like this. But the vertical version here. Just doing all these little tweaks. And then I managed to get that into Engine, which I can actually show off now. I got it and I made it red. I only had to do some adjustments with it, where on the shape I've made it into a donut, so that if you stand inside of it, it doesn't get directly up in your face. You can kind of stand in the middle of it and be unaffected. There was a little bit of like trial and error with configuration and stuff, but it ended up perfectly fine. I'm really loving the effect. After making the actual light, because I made two variants of it, I made this red variant that you're seeing for the effect when you actually get the collectible, but I thought that this void was kind of boring to sit in, and it really wasn't what I wanted. So I decided to make this green light effect, which brings this kind of lovely little fade in the back and really just gives this lovely little bit of detail to the void. If I go into game, it shows even better. And it just makes it look that extra bit more professional and um, more aesthetically pleasing. Moving on, I used two scripts to get the actual cinematic effect, which I'll be demoing in a second. I knew from the beginning how this was going to work. I knew that it was going to be working off trigger enters and stuff like that, and it was just going to be an easy case of enabling and disabling a few things. Though I did learn this specific little piece of API, which is for playing particle systems, which is really nice and convenient. I'll be getting into bugs in a second that I faced, but I'll actually demo the scene itself to you. As you can see, the green in the background fades in quite smoothly, and it does have randomized effects, so it continues to kind of vary it to keep it interesting. Walking down this path, there's the soul collectible. It was initially a little bit confusing, so I've added this yellow streak down the entire path to just really, really make it obvious where you need to go. And then once you collect it, it freezes you, and it starts spawning these red lights around you, and then after a few seconds, you put into the game. I had a few issues with this. It was mainly a silly mistake, but it really had me stumped for a while because all of my code was correct logically, but the issue that I had was that it wasn't split into two scripts. I wasn't understanding this, so what I did was I used ChatGPT and fed it both the scripts, told it about the issue, saying that I had some code and that the coroutine won't start, and it ran through multiple times. It was quite confused initially about why this issue might have been. It thought it might be a issue with how fast the scene was loading. It thought it might be a null reference exception, and after a lot of kind of back and forth telling it information, I landed on the issue, which was the really simple that this script that was doing all of the scene transitions, which waits 4 seconds, was on the object that was being destroyed. It was on this collectible here. So after realizing that, I put the scene changer script, which was made by just giving ChatGPT the whole script that I'd made, asked it to split into two, and then kind of used that as a base to split the scripts separately out of, just because I like refuse to put direct ChatGPT code in because it just there's always configuration errors. Um, that worked like an absolute charm. That was what was fixing my big bug. Just because you would walk into this and it would be destroyed, and then when this wants to wait for 4 seconds, it obviously couldn't because the script wasn't active anymore. But immediately after that, just by referencing the start scene change in here and the lid scene change here, it all worked exactly how I wanted it. That was the majority of the technical side of it. Um, it was honestly really fun putting this together. It's another case like with the custom shader where I get to experiment a lot more in Unity's um, kind of built-in tools, where in the past I've experimented with the shader graph system and now I've experimented with particle systems. And it's even given me ideas for where else I could use a similar effect in the game, like putting some particles on the firewall at the end to give it a unique effect, or maybe even like a falling kind of glitch effect from the main bugged tree. And overall, it's just come out really well, in my opinion. Um, I'm very proud of this particular piece of work because I do love a good narrative sequence in a game, and I think this is really what was missing atmosphere-wise. Obviously, it'll help a lot more once we get the cinematic sequences in, but this is a good addition to help make up for that in the meantime. That's basically it for this devlog. Thank you for probably listening to the other ones, I'd hope. And thank you for your time throughout this entire project, kind of hearing out my work. It's been really fun to work on, and I'll be doing a final playtest where I kind of talk about my whole feelings about the entire thing. So that should be up next if you're listening in order. Right. Thank you for your time. Bye.